Hey, it's Sam, and talking about this full moon in Aquarius that's happening on August 30th, 2023. You see it's happening in the Nakshatra of Shatabishak, which means 100 positions, and it's that part of Aquarius which is connected to the sort of transpersonal and social and collective consciousness, and this Nakshatra is ruled by the god Varuna, who is the god of like order and separating the day and the night and cosmic law. So we're going to talk about that, and of course it's opposite the sun in Leo, still in Magha Nakshatra, I believe, by the time of the full moon, and so we also have a few other things with the retrogrades here. So check it out. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher, on there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction. So as you see, we have this full moon in Aquarius in Shatabishak Nakshatra. You see it's also very close to Saturn, who is the ruler of Aquarius. Very powerful full moon with the full power of Saturn, so to speak, because it's not only in Saturn's sign, but Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. And Saturn is also like exactly opposite the sun in Leo, where we have these two sort of kings. Saturn is very much a kingmaker, and the sun is the king. Saturn also wants to bring the king off the throne and bring humility and focus and integrity to our power. So these are very big themes right now in the world, aside from the full moon, because again, when the sun goes through Leo, it's a time to really connect with our higher vision and purpose and what really lights us up. And as the sun is going through Leo, we can get into power struggles, power plays, if we're not really established in our true power, so to speak. We get into ego struggles, and we mistake our power to be something limited to just this body and mind. And we see that sun filtered through the limitations of the ego and the lower qualities of our identity. Again, not the highest, most evolved place where the light shines from inside into the external world, where we are illuminating the world based on what lights us up, based on what fills us up. No, instead, if we're not connected to that inner light, then we feel dark inside, and we only feel illuminated inside when something from the outside lights us up. This is what it is to feel that impoverished quality of the sun and feeling illuminated. Now, the reason I say this is because one of the things on a full moon, don't forget, the reason we have the full moon is because we're seeing the full sunlight reflected off the moon. So you should understand the only reason you could see any other planets is because they're reflecting sunlight. And we forget this, but the sun is the king. And particularly when we see full moons, we're like, the moon, the moonlight. Moonlight is sunlight. All light in our solar system is sunlight. You should remember this. Jupiter doesn't have light. Jupiter reflects sunlight. Venus doesn't have light. It's a rock. Just like a rock that's dark, you don't see it unless you put light on it. So moonlight is actually sunlight bouncing off the moon. So the reason why we start with the sun as being the most important part of the full moon is because we're seeing the fullness of the sun reflected back from a place that's opposite. So the sun is reflecting from Leo onto Aquarius and then back to us. Now, when you look up in the sky, you're also going to see this Saturn next to the full moon. And if you've been looking up in the sky recently, as I'm recording this on the 29th, you'll see Saturn next to the moon. On the ecliptic, Saturn is big in the sky right now because he's retrograde. When planets are retrograde, they're closest to the Earth. So this Saturn retrograde is also, again, very prominent in this whole story because, again, what we have with Aquarius is this idea of bringing the king down off the throne. So if you think of Leo as being, I'm the mighty king, then Aquarius is, yes, and we are the subjects of your kingdom, if you're looking at it that way. So even though we're the center of our life, we're surrounded by all these other people, and to all these other people, we're not the center of their life. So if we try to make ourselves the center of their life, then we're eventually just going to feel, like I explained before, impoverished and looking to get light from them, rather than feeling that joy within where we're connected to our own power, truthful power, and reflecting it outward. When we're not, then we're trying to make ourselves be the center of everyone else's life and trying to draw attention to ourselves and trying to get others to validate that we're as powerful in our mind as we are in their mind. And it does nothing but disappoint us. Right now, the sun in Leo will continue through that course as we build that lesson. But this reflection back from Aquarius is to show us that even though we're the center of our life, we're not the center of everyone else's life. And instead, we need to find and align with other individuals if we're going to really have the beautiful kingdom that we want and that we imagine. Then we need other people to, cooperate with us and our vision, and we find ways and issues and a collective way to rally with each other and to cooperate with each other, rather than always needing to be right, the one in power, the one in charge, the authority. And right now, the sun is moving closer to being eclipsed, by the way, as it's in the middle of Leo. And as you see, the south node here is moving back toward the end of Virgo, and we're about to have this big shift where Rahu moves into Pisces and Ketu moves into Virgo. And I've put together a web class for you to understand that about yourself and this next big shift that's coming. So go to rahuketu.net to attend the Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo free web class. We're going to have this shift of Rahu going through Pisces and Ketu through Virgo. It'll be from November 29th, 2023 until the end of May of 2025. And I'm going to talk about what it means for your sign, the house axis from your chart, for the world based on past transits. So are you ready for that? What's going to happen? And again, as you can see here, I analyze the nodes, what they are, Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo. You see we have big eclipses coming up with this nodal axis, October 14th, 2023, and then also April 8th next year, and even further into 2025. So again, this is a great opportunity for you to really learn what this transit means. So go ahead and register rahuketu.net. So yeah, when you go to that webpage, rahuketu.net, you can just register here, and as you can see, it's free, and you just go here, you just select an event date, and you can register, and then you will get that web class. Again, very much current and topical, because one of the things that happens is as the sun gets closer to the next eclipse point, we start to really feel the effect of the node on the sun. So we're getting very close to this eclipse energy right now, as we're only, it's actually happening in the middle of October, which is only a month and a half away to this next eclipse. It's going to be happening across the USA, and then the one next April is also going to be happening in the USA. So big time for the USA to get eclipsed. And this full moon in Aquarius reflecting back from reflecting back onto Leo energy is big. So the Nakshatra of Shatabishak is also very prominent here. Shatabishak literally means 100 doctors, 100 physicians, and it's where we need to find an alternative solution to our problems. So you look at it this way, you can go to a doctor and he says, okay, here's what's going on, here's what's wrong. And you're like, okay, so our whole life we kind of get advice about things that we don't understand, but then at some point we kind of throw the rule book away. Even when you were growing up, your family told you the way things were, and here's what you do to be accepted or to find a solution to your problems. Again, maybe it's not a health problem, just life problems. Who am I? Why is this going on? Your family and your surroundings, like, oh, this is what it is. And you're like, oh, okay. When I listen to them, I get accepted. I get, I'm part of the unit or whatever it is. But then at some point, you go looking for an alternative solution to your problems. Maybe it's literally a health problem, but it might be a spiritual problem, right? Shatabishak Nakshatra is that type of energy where you have to go to like 100 doctors in order to find the solution to the problem. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean a medical doctor. You want to evolve these indicators to be more universal. All of us are sick on a soul level because we come into this world not knowing our true nature and identifying with this limitation, this limited body, this limited mind, this limited power. And we don't understand our true nature. And we're told certain things, we're told a lot of things. Well, you need to believe in God, or that Jesus was the Son, or this or that, or none of it's real, it's all BS, or whatever it is. We're told a lot of things, but we got to find the answers for ourselves. And the more we investigate, the more we're actually on this path of self-discovery, and we find a unique medicine that heals us, right? So that's sort of the nature here. And again, notice how it's opposite of that Leo energy, which is like, I know everything. It's kind of like, well, I don't. What does everyone else say? This is the Aquarius, the sort of collective, where it's like, I'm not sure. What are all of the options, right? The god is Varuna, and Varuna was the one who maintained what's called Ritra, or the cosmic order, right? Things like the change of seasons, separating the day and the night, and these cosmic laws were the domain of Varuna, and it's also related to the atmosphere, like the upper atmospheric sky, the atmospheric water. Varuna was the god of the water, and in Bharat Parasha Horasastra, it's actually the deity related to the moon. But it's related to celestial water like clouds and this kind of static electricity, this sort of charged energetic potential in the sky. Like, think of something like when we have a storm coming, or you have all that moisture rises up in the air and it's all this power that's ready to kind of unleash. This is the sort of quality of Varuna as well. And then it rains down, and there's healing and nurturing. So this energetic potential is a lot of what this nakshatra is about. And frankly, I think it's one of the reasons why you'll see Aquarius, it's like the water part of Aquarius, because Aquarius is an air sign. But this nakshatra, Shatabishak, is ruled by the god Varuna, who is related to celestial water. You see this thing all the time, especially in Western astrology, where Aquarius is a long-haired naked lady pouring water. And people think Aquarius is a water sign. It's not. It's an air sign. And in Indian astrology, it's much more clear. It's an empty pot, where the pot is empty. The word kumbha literally means pot, but it's an empty pot, where the water has been poured out. That's the nature of Aquarius. And a lot of that comes from the nature of Saturn, who dries things. The sort of drying quality of Saturn. This is why Saturn is related to aging, getting old, arthritis, things getting dry and crinkly and like a skeleton. And as you see, of course, Saturn is very close to the moon on this full moon as well. So when you look up, you'll see Saturn in the sky. But this is also why you may be feeling a lot of this intense pressure, because Saturn really feels like a bummer to both the sun and the moon. Because again, the moon is like where we love to feel good and feel all connected to the things we love to feel. And we're all about how we feel. We're 99% about how we feel about things. So much so that we call everything, even things that are spiritual, it's not really spiritual. It's just things that make us feel good. We say, okay, that must be what spiritual is. It's not. It's not things that just make you feel good. In fact, many times spiritual growth and spiritual progress happens when we do things that don't necessarily feel good in the moment, and we sacrifice what feels good in the moment in order to concentrate on something that we know is right, but might not feel good in the moment, because that's just emotion. So again, but to the moon, that's just like a buzzkill. And when I talk about this, often people, are like, oh, that's so harsh. Because again, to us, we just want to feel good all the time. What's wrong with that? But we can still feel good, right? We're supposed to feel good, right? Yeah and no. Emotions are, anger and fear and stress and, passive aggression and all that are also emotions, right? It's not just the things that feel good. So Saturn brings that severity, this feeling of severity. It's not really severe. To grow up and be mature is not really bad, but yet we don't like it. Our ego wants to stay immature, wants to just enjoy itself and not sacrifice, not assert, and push past things that are difficult. So again, this Saturn join the moon here also brings an awareness of those things, and like a sort of, you might say harsh reality, or a, painful realization or harsh realization about needing to sort of grow up and move past certain things, even like certain things that we're like nostalgic about the past and our childhood and things like that. Of course, Saturn is also aspecting the sun here, his 7th house aspect, where again, the sun is where we love to bask in the illusion that we're so powerful. I'm so powerful. And Saturn's like, no, you're not. You're not so powerful. You have power, but everybody doesn't care. All the things that I said earlier about the Aquarius-Leo axis comes from Saturn, who's saying, yeah, you're powerful to you, but to everybody else, you're just another, person. And come down off your throne, okay? And even if you want to be a good king, you have to have the consensus of the, of the proletariat. So Saturn feels like a real buzzkill to both the sun and the moon. He's opposite to both. So his aspect here is big. And again, we can look at it as a negative, but it's not. It's to concentrate and focus these things beyond just the external, immature expression. That's all it is. There's no reason to make it more. There's no reason to pathologize it. There's no reason to go, oh, but Saturn, it's going to be bad, 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 and all this other kind of stuff. It's not. These are powerful energies. The sun is in Leo, in his powerful place, right? Saturn is in Aquarius, in its powerful place. So the truthful power of the kingdom is coming back to us, because Saturn shows the truth. And by the way, look at culture now. Look at how even the scales of justice and the consequences of our actions, the consequences of our mistakes, let's say of your mistakes, are coming back and being revealed to you now. Saturn is going through Aquarius. Saturn is the hand of time, the hand of karma, coming back. You can particularly see this culturally around the world. We could see this with a lot of the sort of authoritarianism that really was predominant since like 2015, 16, 17, 18 in Russia, even with the past president of the US and all the lawsuits and all the stuff coming back, the consequences of the actions, this kind of cold assessment of history. Again, all of that is big Saturn stuff, whether we like the results or not, and we can want to remain like, no, or whatever. But again, the rational assessment of time and the passage of time to reveal and show the truth that we need to awaken to and grow up to is shown by Saturn going through Aquarius. And now he's reflecting again back on the sun in Leo, right? So again, we can see this, again, where Saturn is showing the limits of our power, particularly if we abuse our power and we place ourselves above, the people, or again, look at it in your life, aside from the cultural and social and political, that the answers that are coming back are ones you should pay attention to, rather than feeling like a victim and feeling like a baby and staying immature. This is the negative quality of Saturn when we don't want to grow up and we don't want to see the truth. So particularly with Sun Saturn, there's a great opportunity to really see the truth. Now again, we're still in the midst of retrogrades. Venus is about to turn direct again, but she's still retrograde in Cancer, so still some sort of retrograding over maybe past nostalgia in relationships or connections and friendships. Also Mercury retrograde in Leo as well as getting us to reflect on those ideas and those stories that maybe we've been very enthusiastic about, but now we have to really learn them and be thorough. I find Mercury retrograde is a time to be thorough and to be real and truthful. But again, particularly with this aspect of Saturn onto that placement, it's quite auspicious, because anytime planets are in their own signs, like we have this Saturn in Aquarius, anything that he's going to be touching and influencing, which by the way also includes this Jupiter in Aries, this is one of the reasons why we see a lot of social justice, or I should say social justice is a good way to look at it, but things like, for example, no one is above the law. We're seeing this in the U.S. with the indictments of the former president, which we've seen these things take place in public for years, and finally to see some accounting, and by the way, have his day in court. If he's innocent of all the stuff, he'll have time to present all that. I'm not at the least bit upset. And by the way, if Biden does stuff too, investigate him and haul his butt into court too. Haul them all into court. I don't care. I don't have any preferences, but we've definitely seen the previous guy, hearing him on phone calls, seeing him in public, and so yeah, he'll have his day in court. And by the way, if that last election was really stolen, they all should be doing backflips because they get to go to court and prove it. And if they were right, then Trump will be exonerated of all that stuff. So he's got his opportunity to prove all that. But the point is that this is what Saturn is. It's the consequences, right? It's the consequences of whatever's happened. And so even his aspect on the Jupiter up here in Aries is shown, because again, this is a powerful Saturn showing powerful consequences of our actions. So again, by the way, we see the same kind of thing even in Putin's Russia, right? We had this guy Prigozhin who tried to stage a coup, showing Putin's consequences of actions where, the Russian army wasn't able to really maintain and make much progress, but that Wagner group led by Prigozhin was, and then he made a calculated risk to go to march on Moscow, and then he stopped, and now you see what happened to him, right? So again, these are a couple examples, but all around the world we can see a kind of a sort of reckoning of consequences right now. It's a big theme, especially with those in power, with this Saturn aspecting the Sun in Leo. So again, I definitely recommend that people take me up on the offer to learn about this Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo, because that eclipse is right around the corner. It's only the middle of October. Again, 2023 is going by so fast, but again, as the Sun gets closest to the next lunar node, we start feeling the effects of the next eclipse. And however that's going to affect you is also going to be the big thing of what I'm talking about in this free web class. So again, you can go there, register for that. You just click, you go down, you select the date, and you can, take that on. So thanks a lot. So go to rahuketu.net to attend the Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo free web class. We're going to have this shift of Rahu going through Pisces and Ketu through Virgo. It'll be from November 29th, 2023 until the end of May of 2025. And I'm going to talk about what it means for your sign, the house axis from your chart, for the world based on past transits. So are you ready for that? What's going to happen? And again, as you can see here, I analyze the nodes, what they are, Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo. You see we have big eclipses coming up with this nodal axis, October 14th, 2023, and then also April 8th next year, and even further into 2025. So again, this is a great opportunity for you to really learn what this transit means. So go ahead and register rahuketu.net.